Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good evening. It's another episode of the Original Sports Podcast with yours truly, Mark Maradei, and my Barbershop crew. Pretty excited. As football season winds down, that doesn't mean that we wind down. So we're pretty excited to get with you guys tonight. We got 1 down, 3 to go. The Natty was last night. It's done. We finally have a lot to say and break down about that fiasco. We have our Final Four coming up this weekend in the NFL with the AFC Championship and the NFC. We'll look at what happened in the divisional games, and then we'll move right into some talk about those conference champions. So we're looking forward to the climactic point of the 2024 NFL football season and looking ahead to bigger and better things coming soon in the wonderful world of sports.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
You're going to call anyone that loves you. You're going to ask them if you can use their card to buy concert tickets because your card's maxed out. Okay. If they say yes, you get the tickets.
I can't call my parents because they already think I make bad financial decisions. Well, so I think I'll call one of my friends.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous. I feel tingly.
What's your not answer?
Giovanna?
Yes.
I was on SeatGeek earlier and I saw 2 tickets for Olivia Rodrigo at a really, really, really good price. So
Oh my god.
I maxed my credit card out by accident last week. Do you think I could use yours to buy the tickets?
Oh my god, yes.
Did I what?
Yeah, you got the tickets. You got the tickets.
I just want tickets. We're going to go to the concert together. Giovanna, I'll call you later. Love you. Thanks for picking up. Oh my god. I'm going to see Olivia Rodrigo.
Yes, thank you, SeatGeek.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, it's time to experience the O's on the Original Sports Podcast.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you this evening? It's freaking cold out. I hate the cold.
I know. Bonjour.
Is that for T-Sizz?
Yes, for T-Sizz. Bonjour.
T-Sizz, he just took that. He just escaped for the weekend with the little lady over to France, went to Nice. Hopefully he got, I told him bring me back some wine, but you know, he's on that dry January. He can't pick it up without drinking it. So who knows if he brought me anything. Chops, it cold down here in ATL?
Ridiculous.
Is it snowing?
Ridiculous. We got it's on the grass, but not the road. Matter of fact, they started it last night at 10 o'clock. They on the 10 o'clock news, they said today at around 10, didn't start till about 3, but today at around 10 a.m. or between 10 and noon, they expected snow to start. So from 10 a.m. to noon today until 7 tomorrow morning under winter advisory. Parts of Atlanta would get a dusting to an inch. The worst parts would get 1 to 3 inches from Tuesday into Wednesday, and they had already closed school for Tuesday and Wednesday for a dusting.
I applaud those people. I applaud them.
That's because that's not in the budget. They don't have trucks and soap down there. It's not in the budget.
They spray brine they spray brine on everything, and then they'll put sand and rock on it. And I'm like, why don't you contact Pennsylvania, Minnesota, other northern states that deal with this every month? But again, I'm just a schmuck from Vanderbilt, Pennsylvania. What do I know? It's ridiculous. They year in and year out. We had a weather advisory real quick last week. So on the news, they said this. They've been preparing it. They had a rehearsal run 2-3 weeks ago. How?
Maybe the rehearsal run.
That's what I'm saying. How?
In the rain.
The governor's already declared a state of emergency for the next 2 weeks.
Because you're getting like 3 inches of snow, maybe?
Maybe. I'm telling you, on the fact of, listen, think about what I'm saying. Over basically 21 hours, at worst, we'd have gotten 3 inches over 21 hours. At worst. 3 inches over 20 hours in the worst part. And they were like, we got to shut schools down. Shut them down.
So what you're saying is that if Noobs brings down his snowblower, he'll run the city.
Oh, yes. You run it like Batman ran Gotham. You run it. And the crazy part is, you're driving through the streets of Atlanta on any given day, you'll see Humvees, you'll see Tesla trucks, you'll see all kind of 4x4s, yet nobody, big old knobby tires, and nobody can drive them. As soon as it's nice outside and the sun is shining, they'll drive it all day. As soon as it gets wet, forget about it.
Sheen, next storm, we got to rent some snowblowers and go down to Buckhead, make some money.
Oh, man.
Come in. I don't even need to make money. Just give me
What's the
drinks
guy
down
who
there.
just got? We can go to the guy who just got out of jail's house. Young Thug. He needs someone to get out.
Yes,
Yeah,
there you go.
hell yeah.
Here we come, Thugger. We on the way, Thugger.
It's ridiculous, fellas.
Hey, look, Chomps, you think that's bad? They already gave us a 2-hour delay for the next 2 days because it's so cold in the morning. They hit us up with that already today.
How cold is it?
0.
Oh, yeah. Down here, you go to 0. It is in the teens here, and they're telling people, how you get a drag. Of course, the teens are cold, but we don't know how to deal with that, man. Not consecutive days. No, I remember years ago, it went down to the teens on Monday, but on Tuesday, it's back up to damn near 40. But here, when we're having consecutive days, you know what the crazy part, what I haven't seen? I'm quite sure they have it, but I haven't seen any place where they're talking about the homeless can come and conjugate or wear a shelter center.
A warm center.
Yeah, I have not seen that. Now, when it's summertime and they're getting upset with Tent City when all the homeless people got their tent set up and here and there. No, we got to get rid of that. They'll show you and let you know how they're getting rid of them. But now that it's cold, and I'm quite sure they've done it, but I have not seen it on the news where they're setting up for the homeless.
See, that's why I think our schools should be closed, and they should use our schools now, not just a 2-hour delay, just use our schools, bring those people into the gyms. It would make sense. They already feed everybody. You might as well bring them in, let them sleep and eat.
Yeah, but then what happens if one of them sneaks away and has it to the next day, and then there's kids in the school? Now you get a bum in the bathroom.
I'm just busting balls anyways. Yeah,
That's wrong, man. Let's get started.
Look, let's talk Natty. All right, let's talk national championship. I don't know about you guys, but when Riley Leonard came out running that ball like he was Eric Dickerson to start the game, I was like, shit, he rolled right down the field carrying that thing. It was 7-0. What was it, 9-minute drive? I was like, damn, this might be competitive, And then all the shit I said back to Chops about Leonard being legit. Yeah.
It probably they've been here in Atlanta. They've been here in Atlanta for a couple of days. So Ohio State's defense was probably at Magic City, at Strokers, wilding out. They're downtown.
Hold on. For those who don't know, those are places you go to see the young ladies.
It is adult entertainment.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So now they were probably down there.
Why do you got the form? Okay. They got the form. They know.
A lot of clubs down here, Sunday night is amateur night. So what that means is girls that work at other clubs will go to like they may work at Magic City. They'll say, well, I'm going to go to these other clubs where it's Magic night, where it's amateur night. Some of those clubs are true amateurs. Other girls are dancers at these clubs. Well, I'm going to go over here because our club is closed. So I'm gonna win this money because we'll have a competition. So some of the times you go to clubs on amateur night, wilding. Yeah.
We're going to get back to the national championship.
Well, that's what happened to them Sunday night. That's probably where they were. So it took them a little bit to get their bearings come Monday evening. Evening. So when they got their bearings, they decided let's put foot to ass.
Well, sure, of course.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I did when they drove down. I said, man, they're pushing them around. I said, this might be a long night.
Yeah, I did too.
But then I start looking at the size of the line on the Ohio State side. I was like, God dang, those dudes are big. They were big as shit. They were like the Ravens over the Steelers, man, big. Because I thought the Ravens were much bigger than the Steelers. And they were just they just started manhandling him then. You know,
Fellas, I've been doing
you had NFL guys versus regular college guys.
Yeah. And matter of fact,
there's your difference.
That's true.
Hold on. Matter of fact, since Waddy said that, let's piggyback off this. And Waddy's right, because we've all seen the meme where it says now that they can start paying players, you see how Alabama and Georgia's falling off. And that got me to thinking, for years, Georgia led in recruitment money. They had more recruitment money than anybody else. So they were probably giving better recruitment tours. And Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon were like some of the top teams in NIL money. They both went deep into the playoffs. Well, of course, Oregon got run buckshot, but Ohio State, but Texas and Ohio State were there. I wonder if that is a correlation, if that's what now we're going to see, where teams are starting to buy national championships, like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, and they're paying their, you know what I'm saying? So when Waddy says those are NFL guys, really they are, because their next game is they're playing Sundays.
Well, did you guys get that NIL thing I sent you from Dion where he said what NIL is and what? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noobs, how many of your former players do you know that got NIL money, and did anybody get anything sizable?
Collective money.
Yeah, collective. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had a few guys. I don't want to put names out there, but we've had a few guys get over 100, 200,000. So, I mean, they're making decent money, nothing crazy, but for a college kid, that's a hell of a lot more than the little bit of stipend that we would get back in the day.
That's right. Yeah, got $5 go to McDonald's after the game. Like, come on, man. I know it's 1989, but come on. Can I get a little more, coach?
But it's I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on with NIL. We'll see how it works out. But
yeah, there is.
Yeah. So
but here's the thing, fellas. It's going to be like the portal. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
I think this is what's going to slow it down, and this is not in a negative way or anything like that, because I don't want to offend anybody here, but the Title IX is going to slow this down, because on the women's side, they're not getting paid like those guys are. So I'm telling you, they're going to step in and they're going to say, we want a piece of that pie. At some point, Title IX kicks in, and you're going to have to bust that out.
Well, and I feel you, Waddy, but if you think about take it a step further than that, because if you start going that route, not everybody, even on the male football team, is paid the same. You're paid by the eyes that you bring in. And if these female sports, now, I do believe on Title IX, some of the like women's UConn hoops and USC women's hoops, I think they'll get more NIL money or collective, whatever, however we want to refer, than some of these other female sports. But that's where I'm interested to see. And and I would want to agree with Waddy, but remember when the women were in the they show was Breonna Stewart, where showed where the women are working out. Remember how they had the women's facilities?
Yeah.
NCAA didn't really even care. It's not even like they tried to make it better. So I wonder, on the aspect of what Waddy's point, the Title IX, you would want to think that some people with a conscience, so to speak, would try to level it out. But then there's others going to be say, we're only even paying the men who bring in eyes. If you're not a talent bringing in eyes, so I wonder if they're going to say that to women's sports. And no disrespect, it's a humbling thing, but it's true. It really is true.
So currently they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay women as much. But then Biden just passed an executive order, supposedly, and I didn't read the whole thing, so I don't know how it was written. But the way certain people interpreted it was that the money was going to be the same on both sides. So the men, they'd have to pay the women. They'd have to match whatever they paid the men. They'd have to match the women, and that's just a take on the way it was written. So I don't. That's all going to have to go to the courts, and they're going to have to figure that out. But if what you're saying, Waddy, like if that comes true, that's going to really screw things up for basketball and football.
Well, but now Waddy's got me thinking.
Now remember, Title IX is a law. That's the difference. It's a law that everything has to be equal. Remember that.
But you're right, Waddy. So what now has me thinking? Do you call it equal as in a percentage of what you bring in? Because we still know Ohio State's women's basketball team is not making equivalent to Ohio State football team what they bring in, and I mean, because how could you justify paying Ohio State girls? I think their volleyball team's pretty good.
Yeah,
but it's not the Ohio State guys football team. How do you justify paying them equivalent NIL money?
That's what they're going to have to work out. And I think in the court system, it's going to have to work itself out on figuring out where is that balance? What's that number? What does it look like? Because I can tell you right now, some of those girls are upset on the other side. They're not getting, some of these, like I know a guy, he's getting 100 grand to play ball. I know another guy who's getting over $1 million to play ball. You got some of those guys are getting $8 million to play ball. So it's not equal right now, and the girls over there getting nothing.
Yeah, but on the other side of that, and I want to contest it with you though. I get the Title IX piece, but at the end of the day, if you're not bringing in anything, how do you deserve equal amount? I mean, I know I sound bad. I know what the law is, but the reality of it is, if you're not bringing in money, how many people go to those things? Like, yeah, maybe Ohio State's volleyball, but how many people go to, is Maryland packing their gym for women's volleyball? These schools that are just, there's got to be some checks and balances here. There's got to be some form of reality.
Absolutely.
Fellas, I don't want to get on a high horse or get on a soapbox, but nobody's honest. Nobody's honest with each other anymore. Real talk. Seriously, nobody's honest with each other anymore. Real quick. Ronda Rousey was when she was still active and she was a champ. She was at a press conference and a woman reporter said, "How do you feel? What can the women do to be treated equal? You make a lot of money, but there's a lot of other women fighters that don't. How do we get that? How do we get it fair?" Ronda Rousey looked her dead in the face and said, "I get paid so much because I bring eyes to the sport. If you want to be paid more, you must bring eyes to the sport." That's the bottom line, fellas. No disrespect to women's WNBA. They say it was a great year for them. They still lost $40 million. Think about that.
They lost $40 million because they didn't do what they needed to do with Caitlin Clark. If they'd have brought her into the fold, they wouldn't have lost $40 million. I blame that on the WNBA. That was their foolishness.
Plus, don't you think they're set up to lose money because it's completely funded by the NBA? And that's a tax write-off for the NBA to have the WNBA and to lose money with the WNBA so the NBA can make even more money by writing that shit off. Like, I don't – when people lose money, it's not them really losing money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, the professional – here's the issue too. Professional, you can't really say Title IX. It's more so the amateur, college, and below sports where Title IX comes into play. Professional is a whole different. That's a different ballgame. You earn what you get in that type of league, but not in college or the amateur ranks. That's where the laws protect you.
Oh, shit. Okay, now Waddy brought up another point, real quick. In the portal, if Waddy's a player, right? Waddy, you can't contact me, Miami University. I have to contact you. So if these schools are contacting men for their sport, if they're not contacting women for their sport, how can you make it? You know what I'm saying?
We don't know they are, because all we hear about is what's going on with the men. Nobody knows who's being contacted from Oklahoma to go play softball at Texas. They're not going to tell you about that. Softball's not a top tier sport. Nobody knows who's going from one school to another playing basketball. I mean, it's got to be happening. Let's be honest.
I get you, but here's my thing. No, and again, I'm just being honest with it. What great thing would happen in women's sports that they wouldn't talk about? If there was somebody for the University of Georgia, Oklahoma, somebody getting big time, we'll see this year, because I do watch the girls college softball World Series. If there's somebody making decent NIL money, I believe they'd have to tell the story. They'd have to. You don't think?
The gymnast at LSU, she made millions.
Yeah, she makes $4 million. She was number 4 on the list that I was looking at. Libby Dunn makes $4 million. She currently makes more than Paul Skeens.
Real quick with Title IX. The way Title IX was written was for scholarships, and what it stated was that you had to have an equal number of female scholarships to male scholarships. The problem is you kick in 85 scholarships for the football team, and then you've got to match that with all these women's sports. That takes 4 teams to put together to make that much, or 3. But
now you're adding in money,
right? Now that's a leap. That's a leap that was just taken. I don't know that that's right. If you're talking free market as far as how much players get paid individually, then how can you compare men and women? I agree with what you were saying, pretty much, Chops. Like if you're bringing the money in, you should get the money. If you're not attracting money, then why would you get money?
But you can't be honest with people, though. You can't be honest with them. You get their feelings hurt.
I think that's the way it's going to go. I think it's going to go that way in the courts.
It's okay. The softball girl she left Stanford to go to Texas Tech. She gets $1.2 million payout.
Okay, here you go, fellas. Tell me if you know any of these ladies. I'm not going to tell you what sport. Thierry Jennings, Kelly Maxwell, Addison Barnard, Grace Lyons, Bailey Klingler, Cindy Sanders, Megan Ferriamo, Catherine Sandercock, Jordy Ball, Montana Fouts. Do you know any of those ladies? Have you ever heard their names?
Jordy Fouts, wasn't she the soccer player?
No. That's the top 10. That's the top 10 females playing softball going into the 2025 season. Case in point. Case in point.
You'd have to give me some of the basketball players. I might know that, but
So Najari Kennedy
was getting paid.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Juju getting
paid.
paid.
Let's go back to the Natty, fellas. We got way sidetracked with NIL.
Yeah, we did.
That's a whole nother ball of wax. And I do have a couple people that
that was a good conversation.
Are deep into it, though. It was. I have a couple people that are deep into it that I'm connected with through LinkedIn that are willing to come on the show and talk about it. So at some point down the road here in the next couple months, I am going to have them both on to talk NIL. But let's get back into the Natty. So we saw them go down the field, Notre Dame. We saw them score. Ohio State comes right back and scores. They pound the ball. Minimal passing. I mean, let me go to Noobs. Noobs, what were your thoughts on that? Did you think this shit was over when that happened?
I really thought there was going to be a game. I thought they'd be able to hang with them. But, man, Notre Dame's defense could not hang with Ohio State. I think they run a lot of man coverage, Notre Dame. They had run a lot of man coverage. They tried to mix it up and run a little zone. But Chip Kelly tore them up. I think he did a great job offensively. So, did they punt? Did Ohio State? They only punted a couple times, I think.
2 times, I think it was.
Yeah.
2 times.
Listen, I'm not going to lie, guys. When they went to halftime, I turned it off. I said, this isn't going to get any better. But, they kind of made a game of it, I see, towards the end. But, no? Okay.
Well, they did. I mean, but it was
complete domination, basically. It was, I went to bed when it was 28-7. I knew that was going to happen with undoubtedly.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Notre Dame was looking for in their first scripted set of plays. I don't know if they script 10, if they script 15, but usually you script that first group of plays and you want to see movement, see who's moving with motion. You want to see how they're handling certain blocking schemes. You want to see how things are developing in the secondary. I guess they didn't see shit because they never went back to anything they did on that opening drive.
And that's what I was texting you. I was like, well, that worked. Why not go back to it? I mean,
right.
Because it was quite obviously they were struggling with whatever else they were calling. Like, go back to it.
But my thing with that, Waddy, is do you want to keep putting him in harm? Like he's I don't know if you want to keep running him like nine times a series. You talking 9, 18, 27. You up to 36 carries soon.
You know what though? It's the last game of the season. It's championship time. Let's go.
Yeah. Here's my question for you guys that coach. Barber, Waddy, and News, right? Here's my question, real quick. So,
I like that question.
Oh, Golden, the D coordinator for Notre Dame, is now being looked at. What? I can't remember. The Bengals. The Bengals are looking at him.
He's gone.
Looking at him. Is there? Okay. Here's my thing, though. This was the most important game of the season. You were basically playing against a lot of college or professional players, as Waddy broke and spoke about. In the most important play, 3rd and 11, you chose to go man against the best receiver in the country. The entire game, you stayed at man, and you got 8 up.
Yeah, he was.
Why would I now think, because let's not forget, your boy Darnold just got crushed in his most recent game that meant a lot, and now they're talking about he would lose money. So how does Golden, in the biggest game of your year, where you're playing the best competition, you stick with – not like you were in the right scheme, but they just had better athletes. You chose the wrong schemes to go with. How does that instill confidence at the next level for you're still a hot commodity?
If I'm going man, I'm going to blitz the shit out of them. Okay? That way, somebody's got to get there and force something to change. But that's where it's got to be. And he didn't do that, and that was the pitfall for him.
And that's my theme. But when the game came down to it, 3rd and 11, you know it's a passing down. The best receiver in the country, you left one-on-one, and he got smoked like a Christmas turkey. So if you're the Bengals, why would I still say, like you said, Mark, you're going to blitz them? They didn't do that. And in the game that mattered the most, your schemes were totally wrong. So I don't understand how that still shows confidence at the next level. Darnold looked terrible in his playoff game in games that mattered. So everybody's saying, well, in games that mattered, we showed you why he's not the guy. I don't understand how Golden is still looked upon as, yeah, we want you in Cincinnati.
Stops. You want to know how? Hi, friend. You need a job? It's over here.
Well, he was ready
to.
Hey, he was ready to. He was ready to hire him before they got that far. He was ready to hire him before they got that far. I just read an article about that today. He was ready to hire him. He did not expect them to go that far. No way. So
you're absolutely right.
He looked awesome against Air Force.
A couple things here, guys. Larry Galore, a guy grew up with watching the show. Thanks for tuning in, Larry. He said, what NIL has created is the haves and have-nots of college sports. So that just goes back to what we were saying about, where that money's going. Our boy Mike Gott, what's going on, closer? He says, hi, guys. So does Notre Dame have another chance to make the Natty next year? So what do they need to do as far as recruits are concerned? Notre Dame always – they got to get bigger. Yeah, well, besides paying bigger guys.
Not only that, but they need to go into the 305. They need to go into PG County. They need to go into. Listen, you can't have them guys from the suburbs, man. They ain't it. They ain't it. Sorry.
Fellas, I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
You need dogs.
I'm gonna keep it a buck.
Look.
They got a lot of white boys. Notre Dame got a lot of white boys in that team.
No. See. Hold. Let's stop. Let me tell you something. That ain't even it, because there's a lot of dog white dudes, especially on that offensive line and on that defensive line. Hold on. What I'm saying is, like when you said they get the number one receiver at Ohio State, that you got to have a number one cornerback on the other side. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. They did have a lot of dogs on that O line. When you look here, I saw a lot of salt in that defense and that Notre Dame defense. And you're so right. I'm not, again, fellas, because I said it to you last game. Green. They did.
I hear you, man.
But they just got to pay more.
They need dogs.
Don't you think they're going to be able to get that money in though? They love him. They love him. He just won 14 games this year. That's the most that Notre Dame has ever won in a season. He won 14 games.
Doesn't that come from boosters?
So I'm gonna tell you guys another problem with Notre Dame.
Collective.
High academic standards. So
there you go.
If you're going to bring a guy in, he's got. Well, if you're going to bring a guy in, he's got to be a graduate student. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to bring all those credits.
Yeah.
So if a kid comes from the University of Maryland, he's going to lose half his credits going in. So they can't bring him in until he's a graduate student, whereas other schools can just bring in anybody they want anytime.
Hold on. And you're right, noobs. That worked but I do want to see with this NIL, because basically they lost. They just didn't have the dogs. They just didn't have the horses because they didn't pay out the money. I want to see if their academic standards stay the same.
It's going to stay the same. It's going to stay the same. Yeah.
And
just like UVA, how Waddy?
Yeah.
Just like UVA.
The same what? The same what? They're not.
Is that Maryland too, Mike?
Cal, Berkeley, all them schools were like Noob said. But listen,
Wake Forest and Duke.
That's the same thing with Penn State. Penn State, no one from the 305 wants to go to State College. There's nothing to do up there.
No shit.
You're not getting dogs. You're getting puppies.
Yeah. So let's go back to his question. Can we see a team like Notre Dame back in it next year? Did they prove that he has a winning formula to get them there? If they get a couple more guys that can play it, then basically be more like a dog instead of a dog.
Well, I mean, you figure they're not hitting nothing tough until the playoffs. Really, what they hitting tough?
Right.
Well, I mean, I will say this though: Notre Dame's schedule is normally pretty. Like normally they go out and play USC. They normally play like Michigan State, who's usually pretty. Yeah, they're usually pretty good.
Man, USC
is pretty. Well, they've gotten to that point, but I think normally, they usually play a pretty tough schedule because it is.
When OJ was there, you're right. Yes.
Hey, think about this, fellas, too. Is the SEC still the premier conference in football or in college sports? Yes. Because back-to-back years, the Big Ten's won the Natty.
Here's the problem. You're right, but it bothers me about. Well, first off, let's not forget also the caveat. Michigan, their coach got suspended. Twice, 3 times, or whatever it was, multiple times for cheating the way he was bringing recruits in. And this year, Ohio State paid the most money in NIL. So if it comes down to buying championships, I'm like, I hate to say liking it, but it's open game for anybody. It's really open game for anybody.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't competing.
I know that's right.
I think you still got to be one of the blue bloods because they have the more money.
Hey, this is
the bottom in the league. SEC is definitely better than the Big Ten. No doubt. No doubt.
Just look at the draft. All you got to do is look at the draft, to be honest with you. The draft will tell you the story. Hey, before we go any further, who do you see getting to the Natty next year?
Ohio State.
Pitt.
I tell you,
no Pitt.
No Pitt.
Texas with Arch Manning.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Okay.
And
they're not really losing anything.
I mean, you gotta count Oregon somehow all the time.
All that money Phil Knight's putting in, yes.
And he's going to pay even more.
Yes.
And he's going to pay even more. Is Colorado going to pay more money for Dion to get more of those dogs in there?
I read the article. He and his AD are already going back and forth. Dion wanted more money for NIL and for coaching staff, and they're getting kickback.
And sunglasses.
Yeah, Noob said it. The blue bloods, but every school has some nice alumni. But if alumni doesn't value the football team, even Colorado, Salam, they were big time for years. So you would think that some of their alumni and the ones I'm not even talking about went pro, but they've graduated doctors, engineers, whatever have you. But
that's even like Maryland though. Didn't Under Armour man go to Maryland?
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you seen a facility he built there?
He's dumped a lot of money into that program.
Yeah.
For the love of me, can't understand why they can't keep these kids, man.
I feel like Maryland needs to change a coach, but that's just what I think.
Route 1.
I want to see him win.
There it is, Route 1. Hey,
Route 1.
You think Alabama and Georgia will rebound? Are we going to see them in the playoffs?
They'll throw money at it with their alumni.
They reload.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one surprise team, who would you pick right now?
Penn State.
SMU.
Huh? Do you think? Hold on. Is Waddy going Penn State because of the year they had? Because they're always decent, but Franklin can't get them over. Do you think they'll start add NIL money?
That and then because they do have money. The alumni at Penn State's pretty big. Also, that whole offense they have is coming back, except for the tight end 44. Everybody's
receivers left.
Yeah,
he was that offense. So
I'm going to go South Carolina.
I like it.
Oh yeah, I think they're going to go in the NIL too because they're only missing a few pieces because they're competitive this year.
Too.
The quarterback.
I want you to think about this.
So who y'all think got the most money out of the teams we just named?
Hey, Clemson didn't have any guys from the porthole last year, and look what they did.
I know they had. What
happens when he dips this year? What happens when he dips this year?
We'll see.
What's going to happen with Clemson? That's my surprise. They
do they jump in feet first and put money into the NIL, or are they only going to get one or two dogs? You know what I'm saying? Or are they going to go in?
I think you guys all said it, though, to be quite honest with you. It's what alumni are going to be pissed off enough to go ahead and dump the most money into the football program and say, hey, boom, here you go. Here you go. You know, is Texas A&M finally going to capitalize on all that money? Yeah, you're right, Kevin. The U. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Do you think Beck is the guy at QB? Because they got $4 million into him, so he's going to be playing next year.
I'm just saying, just in general, they can go out and get any receiver you want. They can go out and get any defensive person you want. I mean, they got money. It's in Miami. Hell, everybody want to go South Beach.
I just don't money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
it does.
What I don't understand is how they don't use. Why don't they use some of those guys that played there to go out and do some recruiting for them? You know, like
the U does. The U uses their guys.
Do they?
Yeah, I think they do. I think some of it is that we're discounting the coaching a little bit. Like you don't think like a great coach makes a difference? Like I don't know. I know it's a Jimmy's and the Joes, but I'm pretty sure that Ohio State did a great job of coaching those kids up. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Larry Johnson's a hell of a D-line coach. You won't find any better.
Hey, is that Larry Johnson from Penn State?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, he's still coaching? Gee,
I know. Yeah. I know.
I heard the name, and I said, that can't be him. Golly, gee, that's crazy.
But, fellas, I want to dive into the NFL, and I want to go at Noob here, okay? His Commanders, the lifelong Redskins fan. I think we should pick his brain about what's happened with these guys. I know he's going to come at us with Jaden Daniels, but what's been the catalyst for all this to change, Mike? Where did it start? What's behind all this change with this team so quickly? I mean, I get the change, but it happened quick.
It starts with ownership. They came in and took over after Snyder, and they came in and they said, listen, we want to bring the fan base back. Like, we want to give them something to be proud of. And so Josh Harris and his crew did a deep dive. They found Adam Peters. Adam Peters, from the 49ers, has been unbelievable. Like the guys that he picked up, the amount of success they've had is phenomenal. So I give a ton of credit to Adam Peters. And then picking up Dan Quinn as a coach. He's in his second stint. The biggest thing I think hearing him talk is he did a deep dive himself. Like, all right, what did I do wrong in Atlanta? And he asked people the hard questions, and he wanted the hard answers. Like he wanted to know why. What could I have done better? Like, what are the things that I didn't do well? And he evaluated all that. And one of the things he took away that's really interesting. He said, I put too much faith in people that they would do the right thing or be I don't know. I guess instead of measuring talent, he realized like character means a lot. And a lot of guys let him down in Atlanta, I think. And he kept thinking, they'll get it right. They'll get it right. They'll get it right. And they didn't. And so like, for example, I just saw someone was on X and they said, George Pickens traded to the Commanders for second round pick. Bullshit. He wouldn't take George Pickens for free, I promise you, after watching this film, because he's lazy and he doesn't care about the team. So all the guys they picked are team first guys, and they are on a mission. They're not the best players in the league, but they care and they work together. They're willing to sacrifice, and they do everything that, like the old school stuff that we've been taught since we were kids about what it takes to be a champion.
Is he a player's coach, Mike? Is Quinn a player's coach, or is he just?
Yeah, no, 100%. They love him. And
a lot of discipline.
Yeah, no, Frankie Louvu. No, they definitely. There's rules. Like you got to be disciplined. You got to give us everything you got. But we're going to give you everything we got as coaches. We'll take ownership when we screw up. But they said Frankie Louvu came because of Dan Quinn. Like that's the reason Frankie Louvu came. And that guy is a difference maker. Like he really is. He's been flying around playing linebacker. Listen to the guys that Adam Peters brought in. And you guys probably all know this, but I'm just going to read them off really quick. These are the guys he brought in. Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Cleveland Farrell, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Jeremy Chin, all on the defense. Those guys all start on defense. Those are all starters.
Chin likes to hit.
Yeah, and they're physical guys, and they're not unbelievable. They're not the best players in the league, but they've been physical.
I'm sorry, noobs.
What, Chops?
You missed it. Barber, I don't even know. Somebody was a Dodger. He had like the cutout, and somebody brought him a drink. It's like a comedy movie. You see, somebody's hiding behind the daggone. Who was that?
That's my wife. Sorry, dude.
Maradei. That's hilarious.
I like Jeremy.
Daniels is playing great. But
he is,
also,
and that's the other part. I was going to say with the draft too. He did an amazing job in the draft.
Yeah, but if you're bringing in that many starters on defense, that helps a hell of a lot too. That really, really helps. It really does. But like you said, and we got into it last week on this, he's a player's coach. When people say that about Tomlin, it's a knock, but it's not a knock when we're talking about Quinn. But like you said, Luvu said he came to Washington to play for Quinn. And he showed up and bust his ass every week.
Yep.
That, you know what I mean? And I don't know, man. I understand, like you said, he wouldn't want to take Pickens. Fellas, you ever notice that it's always the receivers who are great talents, that aren't getting the rock, and their team's still losing, they're barely over 500, and I'm not being utilized. Hell, even when the Browns or the Eagles were winning, Brown is a hell of a talent, but he was pissed off because he wasn't being able to shine. I think receivers get a lot because receivers are the one position that you have to rely on someone else. And even Brown, all-world, high-paid receiver, when he went 2 or 3 games without getting fed, there was a problem in Philly, and they were winning. So, yes, your boy Pickens does some stupid stuff, and we already knew he was a head case, but I think I'd be pissed, too, if I'm Pickens because talent-wise, I'm as good as anybody else in the league.
I got you two things to add to that real quick.
We'll come back to that one.
I want to say something about that because I can't remember where I saw it, but they were talking about the psychology of the wide receiver being out there away from everybody else. He's out there on an island, so he already feels isolated. Like he doesn't even feel like he's part of the team. And like that psychology of all those guys are in there and I'm out here by myself. Like I think that's part of the psychology of it. And then the other thing I was going to say to counter that is Terry McLaurin played a few weeks ago. He had like 2 targets the entire game. He was running down the field, blocking his ass off, no complaints, dabbing his team up when they made plays. Like he didn't complain one bit, man. And
yeah, but that's one game. We even showed, but because normally McLaurin is getting his targets. Think about it, fellas.
He didn't last year, and he never bitched. He didn't act like a baby.
He didn't. For some reason, he would not throw the damn ball to McLaurin.
I mean, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole about George Pickens.
Well, we're going to go down the rabbit hole because Pickens is not as talented as Chase and Jefferson. Pickens only has one route, Chops. He can't run tree. I haven't seen him do anything outside of going straight.
We don't know that he can't run trees because the entire Steelers roster doesn't run trees. And if he touches it 90% of the times, Pickens is going to catch it. That is what I want you to do. I don't give a damn if you can run a route tree. When I throw it to you, can you catch it?
Right.
AJ Brown is one of the best. And again, it's not fair to Pickens because I hate that but I call it how I see it. Pickens, again, we saw AJ Brown. He brings a book. He brings a book and reads a book now, and he's getting away with it. Brown is getting away with it because they win, and he's still putting up numbers because they're feeding him.
Let's table this, Chops, for the Thursday.
All right, let's hit it.
Let's table it.
I got it.
Back to the Commanders. I want to call them the Skins. Back to the Commanders, Mike. How many of the guys out of that draft are producing for this team?
You got Jaden Daniels, obviously. Brendan Coleman is the left tackle. They got out of TCU that they drafted. Yep. He's this last game he played really well. He's had a couple shaky games, but he played really well. Jer'Zhan Newton is actually a backup since Jonathan Allen came back. He started when Jonathan Allen got injured with the pec injury, but he's like a legit starter. He'll be legit for a long time. Mikey Sanders show has gone nuts. He had 2 picks the last game,
Michigan
against Detroit. Yep, and he played amazing. And Luke McCaffrey's had a decent sized role also.
How about Sano? Is he getting any PT at tight end?
Senate, he
Senate,
has not
yeah.
gotten not gotten a ton. I don't know what the deal with him is.
How about St. Just? Isn't he a rookie?
He plays like a rookie. He's like a 4-year vet. No, he plays like a rookie.
Who's the defensive leader?
Who's the defensive leader?
Yeah, who would you say?
Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner. Not even a question.
He's a free agent, right?
They only drafted him, 1 year. They don't give him, I mean, they only signed him for 1 year, but they gotta re-sign him, man. He is
Who's behind him?
Unbelievable.
Who's behind him?
I don't know. Good
But
question.
but he also brings a mindset because Wagner is always going to have his nose at the ball. I mean, hell, even when he got trucked by Mayfield, old Baker boy,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Bobby Wagner played for Quinn out in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So they had a relationship.
Yeah.
You can't hit the quarterback chops.
So Mike, what do you think is going to happen this weekend? This is their third shot with Philly. All right. They haven't beat them the first 2 times. Am I correct?
No, they beat them the second time.
1-1.
Luvu knocked old Hurts out of the
Hurts
game.
the out.
That's right. My bad.
Yeah.
No, what was it? Oh, Pickens. Glovey boy Pickens.
So
Pickett.
I'm a little worried. I think talent-wise, if you go position by position, Philadelphia is superior at every position, almost except for quarterback, in my opinion. Maybe we got him at tight end. Maybe with Zach Ertz is pretty good, but I mean, they got what's his face is pretty good too. Goddard. They're very similar players. That's probably a wash. But they say Philly's O-line is the best. They got the best running back in the league. They got AJ Brown. You guys just said the top 3, 4, 5 receiver at the most, like at the furthest back. So he's legit. Their defense is sick. Their D-line is insane. Like they're young. They're going to be good for a long time. They did lose. What's the kid from Georgia, the linebacker?
Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, they lost Nakobe Dean is a big loss. I don't know if you watched the game closely, but I tried to watch the second level, and it did look like they weren't fitting properly a few times. And then also, I don't know in coverage if they were quite as good as like Nakobe Dean was really good for them. He was all pro level, in my opinion.
Do you think they'll load the box to stop Saquon and force Hurts to beat him?
They have to.
Have to.
There's
no choice. Yeah, there's no choice.
He's averaging 166. Yeah,
Hurts' passing numbers are terrible.
Yeah.
Hurts' passing numbers are awful.
166.
He had to pass
the last 2 games.
He had to pass, really.
You're right, Waddy. You're right.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he hadn't had to. I mean, hell,
but even when he does,
yards running the ball.
So,
but Waddy, even throughout the course of this season, like, his numbers are not good as far as quarterback goes this year when passing the ball. He's not.
You got to force him to pass.
So yeah, in my opinion, the way they win, I really see they got to stop the run. You know, at least at times. I don't think you can contain Saquon. I don't think you can keep him under 100. But if you can keep him close to 100, you force them to punt a few times and maybe get a turnover or 2. If you can do that, you have a chance, especially with Jaden Daniels.
Big plays.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yep.
Right. That's the key.
What do they need to do on defense then? I know we're saying that, but you know, Philly also has like offensively, what do the Commanders need to do? Because Philly has 2 lockdown corners there, 2 young guys. I think that can play corner really well.
I think they got to go. They go fast paced sometimes. I think they got to do that. The Rams had a little success with that. They were starting to get those guys a little tired. The Rams are actually moving the ball, but then they had turnovers. Yep, because of the weather. So hold on to the football, no turnovers. If we can convert on 3rd down, you know, not have dumb penalties. I do worry about the refs. I know we're going to get into that later, but this staff has been pro Philly. This guy that was Hockley, I think is going to be the head ref. He's been pro Philly 6 times. What were you going to say, Sheen?
If they win, do you crack your piggy bank and go to the Super Bowl?
No, hell no. I love him, but I would never. I don't have that kind of money.
We'll be at his house on his deck for that party, though.
Oh, yeah. We would definitely have a party. I'll have the shotgun ready to shoot up in the air if they win.
You'll hear it down ATL, choppers.
Oh, shoot.
You'll hear it down
we're in
ATL.
Iraq.
Hey, let's flip it over to the other game for a couple minutes and then finish up with talking to the referees, because that definitely needs addressed by us guys. What do we like going into this Kansas City and Bills game. What are the Bills going to need to do to beat Kansas City? How about that?
Same thing they did against the Ravens. You have to be no turnovers. Because you talked about, we say Hurst only averaged 166 a yard, whatever. Rushing and passing, Allen only had 140, but they had no turnovers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So whoever wins this, I don't care. Whoever wins it, to me, is going to have to play flawless.
James Cook. I'm going to tell you something. James Cook is probably quietly one of the best backs in the league.
Yes, man. Yeah, man.
Go look at his numbers. Look at his numbers. It's incredible.
He's nice.
I think against Mahomes, you got to keep him in the pocket too, and don't allow him to have. He buys so much extra time. Like you've got to keep him from having that extra time. What does that mean? If you can do that, I think you got a chance. What are you doing this?
That's Mahomes. You know, he does this shit.
But the thing with that is it's going to be the same. You know, the conversation we're about to have about the referee. You can't hit him, you can't do anything. So,
man,
if you're going to hit him, if you're going to hit him and get a penalty, you better take his ass out of the game. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't want to see
need to make sure. Bills need to make sure in the fourth quarter you got yourself a good 10-point lead. That's what they got to make sure they have, because then you got a little something to work with. Because if it is close, they're not winning. They got it. They got to make sure to get a nice lead. Then that way, Mahomes, you can predict what Mahomes is going to do. Don't let them tell you, okay, I can either run or I can pass, because then you're that's not good for you. If you can tell them what they're doing, then you got to beat on them. But you got to make sure that game's close.
If you take Kelsey off the field, okay, let's say they take Kelsey off the field, is that cutting half the amount of offense he can produce? Because who does he really go to besides Kelsey? What receiver is the number one receiver for them? Can you tell me?
That's the other issue. There isn't really one. So who is he going to go to? And with Mahomes, you know, hey, until he's taken out, he the best right now. He the best out there.
And the crazy part is, in these playoffs, and it's crazy because in these playoffs, I don't think anybody's playing better than Daniel, because he said he's the best. But what he's done, you got to say Mahomes is the best. But here's the thing, Mark, you know, even if you take Kelsey off the field, because he hasn't had a great year for the last 2 or 3 seasons, Mahomes has done it with different receivers and had the most drops. It's almost like he can do it with anybody. But if
Kelsey's different in the playoffs, Chops.
That's what I'm saying. So how do you know you can take him out? I mean, if you can hurt him to take him out, okay. But I don't know if can that be done. And regardless if you're busting ass like the Texans did, if you're still going against the referees, shit. You know, even Waddy says you got to have a 10-point lead, but if the refs want to change that at any lickety split, what do you do?
All right. We know we're getting into with these guys. Who are we going to see in the Super Bowl? Let's start with Shane. Who's playing in the Super Bowl?
I'm going with the Skins and the Bills.
Okay.
Well, the Skins aren't playing. Who's that? Who's
the Commanders, Watson.
Hey, you know, I'm still going. On the Bills and Chiefs, on the Chiefs stuff, I can't
call it.
I can't call it. I can't.
It's so hard. I'm the same.
Yeah, I just throw that up. I really do. And then on the other side, I got to know. I have to know if Hurts is okay.
That's what. Yeah.
At the end of that game, I'm not sure if he was okay. And if he's not okay, Commanders win. If he's okay, Philly wins. That's how I look at it. But I don't think he was okay.
He wasn't.
No. So what do you got? KC and the Commanders?
Yeah.
Okay. Noobs?
I don't worry, you're not a Commanders. I'm going to say the Eagles. And I'm having such a hard time. I'm going to go KC just based on history, man.
Get this guy out of here.
No. We'll go do theory. Sorry, do theory. We'll go do theory. We'll go Bills, Eagles.
Okay. Chops?
I'm going rematch, Eagles and KC. I'm going Eagles and KC.
I'm going completely.
And honestly, it's just because I don't have it. Of course, I'm still I don't have a dog in the fight, but man, I can't even say I think this game is going to be too big for Daniels because nothing has been too big for him. Nothing.
Hasn't been.
Nothing.
Hasn't been.
You know what I mean? And at some point,
Steelers,
the Bills have to get over this hurdle of losing to the Chiefs at some point. So, but I'm going to go rematch. I'm going Eagles and Chiefs.
I'm going Commanders and Bills.
Yeah.
I think
if they were in Buffalo, I'd say yeah.
Thank you.
But they're not
Go ahead, Barber. Give it to him, Barber. Give it to him, Barber.
I'm going to say Commanders and Bills. The reason I'm saying Commanders is that Daniels is playing with such confidence. I don't care when it is on that field. I think he knows what he needs to do to make a play, whether it's running, whether it's hitting Ertz, whether it's handing the ball off at an RPO. I think he's playing with such confidence and understands what's going on that Philly's going to have a hard time making that guess as to how to stop him. I'm going to start with that. On the other side of the coin, the Bills have played that team enough to understand what they're getting with Kansas City. And I know they're playing them in Kansas City, and I recognize where the officials are. It's very blatant, to be quite honest with you. But I just think that the way Josh Allen has managed his team this year without any real superstars around him, that he knows what to do in order to push his team to the next level. And I really believe we're going to see an interesting Super Bowl with the Bills and the Commanders.
1991.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
DC.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see with the Eagles and having lockdown corners, does that give them the leeway to throw some defenses at Daniels that he hasn't seen? And I know they played him twice. I know they have. But they're
feeding right into him if they go lockdown corner, because then he can run the ball.
Exactly.
You run his ass out of there and take off.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying. Now they have those lockdown corners. I can scheme some defenses and maybe have us. But I don't know, man. And I understand he's seen them twice. He's seen them twice. But NFC Championship game has got to be a different environment. But nothing's big. Hell, he went into Detroit and got it done. I don't know.
Hey, I'm going back and looking at the teams that defeated the Commanders. If I'm the DC, I'm going back and I'm going to look at those teams and I'm going to see what they did alike that slowed him down. I'm not saying stop him, but slowed him down, because there are some commonalities in there that slowed him down.
Yes,
so
I think there's a different quarterback now, though.
You're right. All those teams are home for the playoffs. You're right. There's a commonality.
But Kevin,
but in the season they won. There was
Jaden
something
Daniels
there
understands the
to
game
look at.
now. He understands the game now. It is
Sure.
slowed down so much for him. The game is slowed down so much. He understands the players around him. If Pittsburgh were to play, even though Pittsburgh beat them, if they'd have played them in week, say, 14, the Commanders would have blown their doors off. It wouldn't even been close.
We weren't the same team in week 14.
We weren't. Hey, let's talk officials for a couple minutes. We only got a couple minutes left on the show. I'm going to put the ball in you guys' court. What's your thoughts on this? We saw 3 blatant calls, or I should say 2 blatant calls and 1 baited call that didn't get a flag by Patrick Mahomes in that game alone. What's going on with the NFL? It's blatant, fellas. Noobs, I'm starting with you because we've had these conversations.
So for me, it really kind of destroys my trust in the game, because I start looking at spreads and I start looking at how many people are betting one way or the other, and whether or not that's right or not. The fact that you even think that it's a possibility because it's so blatant, you're like, what the hell? And then you have the UFL who plays in the spring, and they got a guy who comes on the TV, does the replay. You can hear him talking to the other refs like they're so transparent. Why can't the NFL be transparent like that? Like, that would eliminate all these thoughts. But my thoughts go immediately to money and how much money is being bet on and all that stuff. There's too much involved. I don't know, man. I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. What do you guys think?
Chops?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I remember being a kid and hearing my dad and uncle saying, "Oh, the game is fixed. The game is rigged." You damn thing. They're just old men. They're just crotchety, whatever have you. But now I'm starting to see it. And the crazy part is, real quick, I saw on a lot of shows where they're saying, well, he's Patrick Mahomes. He's a star. He's going to get a lot of these calls. That is even telling me where these national talking heads are letting it be known they're not going to call the game fairly. He's going to get the close calls. if you're a Kansas City Chief, you love it. But if you're the opposing team, you want your team to win. You're not worried about ratings. You want the game to be called on the up and up. And if you already know that Mahomes is going to get those calls, it already puts you behind the 8 ball.
Hey, Troy Aikman put him on blast.
Yes.
Troy Aikman put him on blast. They don't care. He blurted that out. What we were thinking at the same time, he blurted it out. And I was like, damn, did I really just hear that? You know.
I know.
Good for him. When a guy like that starts making those comments, somebody's eyes have got to open. It has to. It has to.
The ones that get you, the biggest ones are the pass interference, the defensive holding, the ones that aren't contestable that they do, offensive holding, like that kills a drive. You call offensive holding on a guy that didn't actually hold, that just you're first and 25 or first and 20. That's really kills your drives. So
man,
that can totally affect the game.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they really need to sit down this offseason and evaluate that and either start finding these guys or suspending these guys for making these blatant poor calls, because it looks really bad on the league. It just looks so bad.
Just have a way to review it and overturn it and call it the right way by video.
You know what they do in the NHL when they review stuff? It goes to Toronto. There's guys sitting in Toronto watching every game. Even though those guys go over to the penalty box and look at it on a screen, the guys who are in Toronto see it, and that's the guys who make the call. And they tell those guys, this is what we've seen. This is what the call should be. That guy was offsides on that goal, whatever the case may be. And that's where it's going to need to go. This needs to come back on the NFL, if you really want to do this the right way. Waddy?
I think, too, with the NFL, I think some of the rules have become jumbled. There's like, how do you interpret a catch? How do you interpret holding? How do you interpret pass interference? Everything is so jumbled now that each ref is probably calling it their own way. So now they're not on the same page. So then you get to each games are now all different. So then it just becomes a mess. And I think that's where they're also sitting. It's a mess. And that's what it's kind of turned into. They got to clean that part up.
It'll be fun to watch this weekend, fellas. I'm sure we'll be blowing up each other's texts and just watching what happens this weekend, see if it really is tilted to Mahomes because they want him to three-peat. One thing I did hear today, though, and I thought was kind of interesting, not as many people hate the Kansas City Chiefs as hated the New England Patriots, because people like Andy Reid. People didn't like Bill Belichick. People like Patrick Mahomes. People didn't like Tom Brady. They knew they outward cheated. Now, you may not be rooting for them. You might be tired of seeing them win Super Bowls, but people weren't rooting and hating that team like they did other teams. So great show tonight, fellas. Really appreciate you guys. You can see every one of their social media handles underneath their names, except Noob. We know where to find him. You can find him on the X, and you can find him on Instagram at Coach Noob. You can find us on our website, podpage.com, Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei. And I want to give you a little insight on that, everybody. My guys are writing pieces now on various sports, various things happening in sports. We're trying to reach out to you guys to give you some more insight besides what you hear once a week for an hour. So make sure you check out our website. It really is the backbone. Make sure you're liking us, subscribing to us on YouTube. We keep trying to grow the show. We just got picked up by another network, PDF Sportsnet, out of the New York, New Jersey area. So we're really excited to be on that network. We're all over the country, all over the world with our audio podcast, and we're very excited about that. But we need you guys to spread the word, to listen to us, and to help support us each week by coming on. Love it that all these guys came on here tonight and made their comments and talk with us. What Michael got, we want you to come back again and give us those top free agents when we get into that show here in probably less than a month. We'll probably get into that before free agency starts. But for my crew, for myself, hey, make sure you join us next Tuesday to experience EO on the Original Sports Podcast.